Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. Hoosier teachers blanketed the Indiana State House to call on Indiana to catch up with other states.
But we will continue to fight for teacher compensation. We are 50 out of 50 states in teacher increases since 2002.
Ahead, what will lawmakers do to address the teachers' concerns about pay, testing, and licensing rules? Executions that were supposed to start soon at the penitentiary in Terre Haute are on hold. Ahead, a legal scholar joins us to break down the judge's ruling. You asked, and this week we answer what community members and individuals can do to combat climate change.
I often ask this question of people, what's the most important thing people can do? And the answer I get more often than any other answer is vote.
Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. An estimated 16,000 educators braved a chilly day at the Capitol to put on a massive rally. They wanted to get the ear of lawmakers on a variety of issues, but as Adam Pinsker tells us, many of these teachers are tired of feeling undervalued.
On a morning where North Lawrence Community Schools teacher Anna Wall would be getting ready for class, she's instead piling onto a school bus with dozens of her colleagues to join thousands more in Indianapolis for Wednesday's massive rally at the Capitol.
This isn't something I go to. I don't go to state rallies. I mean, I'd rather be in the classroom.
Schools in nearly half of the state's districts were closed as red-clad educators converged on the Capitol. For many of them, the stakes were too high to stay at home when lawmakers convened for the ceremonial first day of the legislative session known as Organization Day.
But we will continue to fight for teacher compensation. We are 50 out of 50 states in teacher increases since 2002.
With the state sitting on a massive surplus, educators say it's time for legislators to invest in teacher salaries and classroom resources.
When we look at teacher pay in other states that are around this region, and every single state is paying higher than we are losing some of our best teacher candidates.
Vigo County School Corporation teacher Diane Burpo says when she graduated college in 1992, she had to leave Indiana to teach because there were rarely openings. Decades later, it's a different story.
I'm here today because now there are not enough candidates to fill those positions.
While the protest had the feel of a high school pep rally, there are other serious issues besides teacher pay that are on the minds of these educators, including an overhaul to the state's accountability system and its relationship with the state's standardized tests. Test scores play an important role in how schools and teachers are evaluated. Students take their first iRead state test in the 3rd grade to evaluate their reading skills, but Wall says some of her students get overwhelmed by the pressure.
I had one little girl that knew that she wasn't up to par with her grade level 3rd grade, and she knew that she was doing 2nd grade reading was more where she was at, and she just cried.
Lawmakers in the Republican-dominated legislature say they're open and willing to hear teachers' concerns. However, opening up the budget may not be one of the options on the table.
This is not a budget year, so historically we have not opened the state budget.
House Education Committee Chair Bob Baining says he wants to hear input from the Teacher Pay Commission and fellow House Republicans before making any decisions on an increase. The General Assembly is also facing blowback from teachers over a bill that passed earlier this year, carving out 15 state-mandated credits to how teachers renew their licenses. Among the new options teachers can choose from is a career externship. Critics call it an unfunded mandate, but Representative Boehning says it has some value that can benefit students.
Does it make sense for you as an educator to have some knowledge to be able to help your students maybe navigate into a career that makes more sense to them?
Despite philosophical differences, Representative Boehning says his fellow caucus members need to do a better job of opening the lines of communication with educators.
I will say that there's a lot of blame that we need to be accepting as well, that we need to be more open to having dialogue, and I'm not opposed to talking to teachers about where I am, where they are.
ISTA organized today's events to show unity among teachers statewide behind a message of enough is enough.
With plenty of issues on the table and teachers' patience running short, many of them say it's time for lawmakers to reward their investments in the classroom.
I want respect. I want, all the years of education that I do and all the training that I do on my own naturally, that it counts for something.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Adam Pinsker.
4 prisoners in the federal prison in Terre Haute had been slated for execution starting early next month, but a ruling from a judge this week put a stay on those executions. With us to explain that ruling and what to expect next is Jody Madera, professor of law and author of the book Killing McVeigh, The Death Penalty and the Myth of Closure. Jody, thanks for coming on. Let's just start with, I know this is kind of complicated, but the legal reasons of why these executions have been put on hold.
Sure. Well, the legal reasons actually go back to as early as 1993 and 1994, when the federal government basically prescribed through a congressional statute that executions shall take place according to the method prescribed by the state of conviction. But the Department of Justice actually wants them to take place according to a uniform federal procedure. And so those two have always been in conflict, and now that's coming to head.
So what does the ruling say about those two different, the Department of Justice arguing their rules should be used rather than Congress?
Well, the order is pretty definite that given a statute versus just an administrative agency regulation, the statute always takes precedence.
So the DOJ has one method, and then individual states have another. Is one more humane than the other?
I would say it really depends, because there's another layer in here, and that's just that there's assertions of cruel and unusual punishment because there are so few execution drugs. So many states have gone to a one-drug protocol, others have gone to the electric chair or alternative methods, and so it just introduces a lot of uncertainty into the procedure.
So this stay had to happen now. Why is that?
Because there's an important aspect, which is that the inmates are due to be executed this year. And so by the time the next legal steps are taken in their cases, that's going to be in 2020, and that would just be too late. So it would be irreparable harm to them. And so it was very important that the stay come down now.
So what happens next?
What happens next is that the executions are on hold, and in early 2020, we'll see what the briefing and the next legal hurdles say. But again, even if this stay is lifted, they still have to litigate the underlying issue, which is whether these methods, whatever they are cruel and unusual.
We just have about 30 seconds left, but what about some of the other states and how that compares to Indiana in terms of these rules?
These rules, well, I would say that most states are using a one-drug cocktail at this point, midazolam. The issue here is pentobarbital sodium, which is the federal method. I think where it really gets kind of squirrely is where the states say we can't use any drugs, we have to go back to methods that were actually cast aside decades ago, like the electric chair.
All right, Jody, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now it's time for headlines and the latest on this week's top stories. Vice President Mike Pence didn't bring up the impeachment inquiry during a speech in Indianapolis this week. Instead, he touted the administration's pledge to America's workers, an initiative where companies and states commit to career training. Pence says economic growth has created around 1 million job openings that people don't have the education or skills to fill.
We haven't made it possible for Americans, either young Americans entering the workforce to get the skills and the training and the background that they need to take those good paying jobs, or we haven't provided the opportunities.
In his testimony this week, Ambassador Gordon Sondland connected Pence to a quid pro quo with Ukraine. Sondland testified that he met with Pence to discuss the link between U.S. military aid for Ukraine and the investigation that President Trump sought into former Vice President Joe Biden and his son, Hunter. Well, Indiana will have a new Speaker of the House in the next few months after Brian Bosma announced his retirement Tuesday. Bosma has been a state lawmaker for 34 years, and his 12-year tenure as Speaker is the longest in state history. Bosma won't step down until around the end of the 2020 session, but his majority caucus will soon choose a so-called Speaker-elect who will learn from Bosma during the upcoming session before taking over the chamber. A Kelley School of Business professor's controversial views won't get him fired from Indiana University. Eric Rasmussen shared an article titled, "Are Women Destroying Academia?" Probably. On his personal Twitter account earlier this month, he included this quote in the tweet. IU Provost Lauren Robel wrote that Rasmussen has long used social media as a tool to spread his views. Back in 2003, IU faced backlash after Rasmussen used a blog hosted on the university server to post anti-LGBTQ sentiments. Robel says Rasmussen's speech is protected by the First Amendment. Well, a new coalition is forming, one of the first 24-hour substance use crisis centers in the state. Supporters say their mission is to help the community in building healthier and more productive lives.
We're just going to focus on that person who needs help, and what are the best ways that we can organize ourselves to ensure that person has the best possible chance to move forward and reach their full potential.
The Stride Coalition will use a $1 million grant from IU for the development of the center, slated to open in the spring of 2020. Centerstone will run the daily operations, and the grant will provide the center funding for a full 3 years. Owen County officials say they expect a new revised festival ordinance to be ready for public reading in a couple of weeks. Commissioners had originally tried to shut down special events in the county in response to a form letter they received that described the Spencer Pride Fest as overly sexual and inappropriate for children. Residents came out to the meeting hoping to hear a decision.
I think that everyone really expected that to happen, to be honest with you. It just seems like all along they haven't really wanted the public input on this, and I think they're trying to wear us down. So put it on multiple meeting agendas and then not actually address it.
The commissioners also voted to allow a section of the AIDS Memorial quilt to be displayed in the main lobby of the Owen County Courthouse. Tensions rose at the meeting when the commission president insinuated the county auditor was corrupt. She then accused him of going after her position. The Owen County Commissioners will meet again on December 2nd. Well, Thanksgiving is fast approaching, and as Kerma Schultz reports, a local pantry is looking for help to feed 1,500 needy families this holiday season.
The pantry started 4 years ago when a local Girl Scout troop saw a need and met it head on. After seeing one of their friends taking leftover food from the cafeteria to store in her locker for the weekend, they reached out to their then troop leader, Cindy Chavez, to start a food pantry in the Ellettsville area for people that were food insecure. What started out as a small endeavor to feed around 30 people turned into a pantry that provided 1,507 Thanksgiving meal boxes last year. In addition to supplying food for holidays, they regularly provide food for 3,500 people a month. Chavez says that around the holidays, a lot of people are in the giving spirit, but hunger doesn't stop after Christmas.
Come January, though, those donations drop out, and during the summer, they're almost non-existent, not just for us, but for everybody.
Chavez has since become the director of Pantry 279 and volunteers 60 hours a week to the cause. Chavez says they never turn anyone away and don't ask any questions of anyone that comes in looking for food. She says she enjoys her volunteer work.
I get to meet a lot of people, and I'm actually kind of feel like they're my friends now. And I hope they feel that I'm their friend. I mean, my husband laughs and says, "You feed half the universe." I don't feed half the universe, but it might feed half of Indiana.
The pantry is located at Trinity Lutheran Church in Ellettsville. They are open every day for Thanksgiving donation drop-offs. Monetary donations can be made in person, via PayPal, Venmo, or on their website. Their distribution day for Thanksgiving meals is November 23rd from 10:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Kerma Schultz.
Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. As the threat of climate change grows, more Hoosiers are asking the question, what can be done to lessen the impact on the planet? And the effects of climate change are far-reaching. We check in with IU researchers as they try to track the shifting migration patterns of wintering birds. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
The WTIU-WFYI News Team connects Indiana to the world. We bring you the top news of the day on radio, TV, and online. We round up the stories that have people talking each week and dig deep into the issues that affect your community the most. The WTIU-WFYI News Team is where you are and telling your story.
In a time of change, where can you find in-depth reporting and thoughtful analysis? Washington Week on PBS. Join moderator Robert Costa.
When I was at the Capitol this week, I encountered the same.
And a panel of award-winning journalists.
You're seeing a divided nation, and you're seeing
for insights and perspective.
Tonight there was a key development in the Senate.
You won't find anywhere else.
What a week.
Washington Week.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Well, we asked for your input, and listeners responded with questions about climate change that they wanted our City Limits Project to explore. In a story reported by Bob Zaltzberg, Benta Boutier, Autumn Schoolman, and Allison Zyhammer, we look at what the city and its residents can do to make a difference.
Jana McCabe is director of the Environmental Resilience Institute. The institute brings together experts from many disciplines to help prepare the state for what's ahead.
It's getting warmer in Indiana, and it's going to continue to get warmer. We're going to have more days in the summer where it's over 95 degrees and doesn't cool down, and that has lots of effects on public health and agriculture and the way we live. And changes in the amount of precipitation that we're getting in different times of the year and how severe those rain events are. And we've already seen the flooding that's been happening in Indiana.
McCabe says the question, what can an individual do, is an important one that many people are asking.
We don't want people to despair and think that there's nothing to be done. And in fact, even though scientists tell us that these effects of climate change are going to continue and worsen, even if we were to eliminate all carbon emissions today, every ton of carbon we don't put in the atmosphere from this day forward will make the problems easier to deal with and will mean less suffering and disruption.
She says the city of Bloomington is ahead of many other municipalities. It has a thorough sustainability action plan and in October released a greenhouse gas inventory. City officials say both are starting points to guide policies. Consider the greenhouse gas inventory.
First step was really to do that because it helps us to really understand and analyze where are the emissions coming from, both within the city operations, but also from the community.
Crowley says individuals can do many things, but it comes down to paying attention to daily habits.
But I would say that an individual could and should take a look at what their behaviors are and ask themselves the question, is there a better way?
And that's something folks in Bloomington have done. Hundreds of residents have chosen to put solar panels on their homes.
It's a viable alternative to fossil-based energy production in Indiana. So it's something that individual homeowners can do for themselves to support their work toward a brighter future, a cleaner future.
McCabe says it's important to consider how much energy you use every day.
Adjusting your thermostat in even a couple degrees. Another hugely impactful thing is to wash your clothes in cold water. It's amazing how much energy hot water in laundry uses. So those are two very easy things to do.
And then there's transportation. Consider using the bus, or walking, or biking. The EPA says a typical passenger vehicle emits about 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide a year, depending on fuel, fuel economy, and the number of miles driven. That's for each of the more than 272 million vehicles registered in the U.S. as recently as 2017. You can also act on lighting.
If people switch to LED light bulbs, to the high efficiency light bulbs, they will save a lot of money and we will save a lot of energy.
McCabe says the size of the potential problems that can be caused by climate change are so daunting, individual actions alone need to be accompanied by broader policy decisions at a governmental level. Most importantly, though, or maybe most importantly, people need to think about the policymakers that we are electing into public office. I often ask this question of people, what's the most important thing people can do? And the answer I get more often than any other answer is vote. Vote for people who understand what science is telling us and that we need to put policies in place. Because we will not solve this problem just by people making individual choices to carry a reusable coffee mug with them. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Bob Zaltzberg.
Well, scientists say climate change is shifting the migration patterns of some birds, and if they can't adapt to those changes, they may not survive. As Rebecca Thiel reports, Indiana University has set up 2 antennas to help track birds as they pass through.
Less than 20 minutes east of IU's main campus in Bloomington, researchers with the Environmental Resilience Institute walk out in the cold to release songbirds they've caught in their nets. Some of these birds will be fitted with small transmitters so that antenna towers on their path can track their movements.
There's a great percentage of loss of birds during migration. It's a dangerous time for them in their life cycle. And so getting information about how quickly they're making these movements, where they're stopping on their migration can help us.
That's team leader Allison Bird. She says that info can guide conservation practices in the places where the birds choose to stop. Bird says because there aren't many monitoring stations like this in the Midwest, we don't know a lot about the Mississippi Flyway, the path many birds take from Canada to southern states. She says that's why it's so important that more stations are set up in states like Indiana, and that they don't get taken down once a specific project is done.
The most valuable stations are the ones that persist and that have funding and a person that's assigned to them that's able to continue to keep them in operation, because when a station is lost, data is lost, and the power of the network is less powerful.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
A traveling art exhibit that's been at the UN and in New York City's Climate Museum is currently on display in Putnam County. Reporter Brock Turner visited and talked with organizers about the exhibit and the community conversation they hope it starts.
There's nothing like this has been done in Indiana. None of the museums or art venues have head-on addressed climate change. And the other unusual aspect is that we're using art to do it. So it's not a science show, it's an art show. It's 4.5 hours long. This particular ice core was bored in 1989 through 93. I just thought it has to come to Greencastle, and I didn't know exactly how to go about it. And then I thought of the Putnam County Museum. So I approached Lisa saying, I can bring this show, I think. And she agreed. She wanted some natural history type exhibition for the museum. And she saw this as an opportunity. So she provided the space, the venue.
I was told by a community member and someone who is a supporter of the museum that I was bringing politics into the museum. And I said, perhaps you'd feel better about this if you just thought of it as an art exhibit, because that is what it is. The topic it speaks to is being used as a political football, but shouldn't be. Okay, and that's my opinion.
I had to get out at farmers markets selling these tickets, and that's where I made contact with people and have one-on-one conversations, and I found that that's been key. One-on-one conversations about the issue.
I had to examine that. Am I bringing politics in here? And some people might see it that way, or some people may think that way, but they haven't even come in to see it. This community, I think, should never be taken for granted as far as, oh yeah, I know how you're going to react about such and such, about this. I know how. No, I have been humbled by my own assumptions and stereotypes that I carry in my head about how some folks might react, and I've been pleasantly surprised.
And there's a new mural in Seymour paying homage to the small town's most famous son. Sean Hogan reports.
The 35-foot-tall mural is on the side of a music store in Seymour. Mural artist Pamela Bliss says Mellencamp glorified Seymour as America's small town in his iconic 1985 single.
He is a part of so much, a part of American culture. He's so embedded in it. Everyone's lives, whether they liked his music or not, they're familiar with it.
Bliss says Mellencamp gave the mural project his blessing, and he even signed his initials on the face of the acoustic guitar. The city of Seymour helped fund the project. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Sean Hogan.
Bliss has also painted murals of author Kurt Vonnegut and famous basketball player Reggie Miller, both of which can be seen in downtown Indianapolis. Well, that's the end of this program. A reminder, we won't be here next Friday as we enjoy time off for the holiday with our families, but our work will continue online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIU-News.org. Have a great weekend and happy Thanksgiving.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Mallard Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.